Mesechta Menochos, Daf Mem Aleph Amud Aleph. We're starting from Mem Amud Beis, 6 lines from the bottom. Amud Abzedo. It's around 5 lines. 5 lines from the bottom. Okay, here we go. Amud Abzedo, Amud Abmasna, Amud Shmuel. Abzedo said the name of Rav Masna, the name of Shmuel. Tchelis here. Tchelis does not mean the blue threads. It means tzitzis. There's no Issa Kalayim. I feel about Talis Tura. Even if the Talis is not Mechuyev and tzitzis. Now, you should say it should be Chayv and Kalayim. Because you're not allowed to wear Stam Kalayim. And if a Talis is potter from putting on tzitzis, and you put Kalayim on it, you should be Chayv for Kalayim. So you're potter. Says, you want my Talis Tura? What are you talking about a Talis Tura? Says, you want to eat like the lights, if you're going to say there is no shear for the to be chayv in the talis, so it's that tiny talis. But Tanya will learn what I said. Talis, a talis which a child is able to cover his whole body, most of his body. V'hagadol, and an adult yoitzeba derchare, and he goes out just as a temporary beged. Chayas mitzitzis is chayv mitzitzis. Ve'im eina kos cotton miskas by reis mirubi afal pi shagad yoitzeba ba'areb tura. So it is by Kalayim. What's the share of tzitzis? I just want to tell you. Besides, though, I'm telling you the Alter Rebbe. Others include the whole. I'm this way and I'm in the back. But you know, the Rabbi Korf said over in one Neshurim that when they went to measure the tzitzis, Korf, his father, Pinion's father. So the Rebbe brought him in to show him the Friedrich Shia. Went to show the tzitzis of the Friedrich Rebbe how big it was, and but we say our size is 26. That's the minimum. That's the real size that you should wear. So over here it says that if somebody wore a cloth that a child is covered, not a child, a boy that is able to walk himself in the street, the Rambam says, around the age of 9, I would say it means. Here he brings down that the Rambam says a cotton who is embarrassed to walk out without clothing. And it's talking about that he can walk alone in the marketplace. So he such a cloth that an adult wore. He says even though the adult wears it, only temporarily, he needs it just for a couple of seconds to walk outside. It's like somebody, even Levi Roosevelt. He had a contest with somebody that if a certain team wins, he'll wear a dress to the wedding. He wore a dress by the wedding and. The Rose saw him and he was beating him up in the wedding. He was saying, "Lay so much." Anyway, so here the contest said if you go out only with your undershirt. Here we're talking about he went out with a small cloth. So even though you could go out that way, but he's potter, meaning he's potter from tzitzis, but he's also potter from Kalayim. The Gemara thought into it. What do you mean he's going to be potter from Kalayim? Just because it's only a temporary cloth? Yes. Okay. So how could you say he's potter?
Why is he using the term Kalayim, not shatnez?
Same thing. Okay. If you're going to say if you say also the Isra of Kalayim, that there's no shatnez by a beged, that a child can cover himself most of his body, and an adult walks out with that. So if you're going to say there's no shatnez, well, not we learn befedish. There's no such a thing temporary. Clothing there's no Issa Kalayim if you wear it temporarily. It's no half pregnant. If you don't wear it, you don't wear it. And you're not chayv to wear it, put on tzitzis, so you should be chayv Kalayim. It means that if the shear that a cotton can cover himself, then in such a case there's no Issa Kalayim because you're chayv and tzitzis. And if it's not that big, then you're potter from tzitzis and you're chayv Kalayim. So Elamai Petura, what does the Gemara mean that even on a talis Petura, on a talis that's potter from tzitzis, there's no Issa Kalayim? What does that mean? I mean, the Gemara Kashiyit a little bit tell us that there was already tzitzis in his baguette, and he inserted another 8 strings into the same hole where there was already prior to that another 4 strings. And in the Gemara before we learned the reason why he did it, because he wanted to have the new strings. The old strings were, worn out. So the Gemara over there said before, Tazim Loimina Asui. The Chayra, he's putting it in, And it only becomes kosher because right now it's worthless. When you add, it's called baltesiv. Baltesiv is as if it's not there. So if it's as if it's not there, when does it become a metzias of tzitzis? When you rip out the old one.
Right.
When you rip out the other one is there already. So he says no. The actual maisa, when he rips it out, that's considered the maisa for the new tzitzis. Says the Gemara. So he wants to tell you, if you put in the other tzitzis, you already yoitze the tzitzis on that corner, and you put in another 8 strings, meaning 4 strings that folded up into 8. You put it in that same place another. So you wanted to say, even though you were already parted from tzitzis because you already had tzitzis, he says, even though you're yoitze with this, you're allowed to wear this, you're allowed to put in that kilayim, in the new kilayim, even though you already have tzitzis there, you're allowed to put in a new tzitzis of kilayim. It should be kilayim. You're not. It doesn't need it.
Right.
You have already a corner with tzitzis.
Yeah, but the corner is possible, you said.
No, it's not possible. I told you it's worn out. He wants to change it, exchange it. So when he says it's not chayiv because it's baltesiv, it's as if it's not there. So that's what you want to say. Rabbi already said in the other blood. But again, to so the Gemara says if you put it in and you rip out the worn out ones, then it's good. So the Gemara says so the Gemara says they add some ripping out the old one. That's the action. And then automatically we know there's no dinner of shotness. So he says, and from the Gemara, it doesn't say befeirish or not. That Gemara wasn't talking about whether you chayiv shotness or not. That Gemara is talking about tasav eloy min ha'asui, that you have to actually insert it, and you can't have something ready from before. Like by a sukkah, you can't have a branch from a tree hanging on your sukkah schach and then cut it off. That's tasav eloy min ha'asui. Here, l'chayt is the same thing. Tesis remains by a kasha. Tesis wants to claim that the ma'ase is you ripped out the old tzitzis, but that's what he was talking about. But derech memela, we know that he's not going to be chayiv for shotness, but he didn't say it directly that you're not chayiv shotness. So that's why he says it over here in a direct fashion. For Kohan Yorim and other shulim, they have like 4 or 5 talesim tied together, sewed together, very big. Now you know there are guys who are cheap, so they use the Kohan Yorim, they fold it up, and they make a hole and they wear it. It's folded up, so you have 4 corners, right? But if the fold opens up, so look what happens. Give me a paper. If you have a paper over here, I'll show you in a sec. Oh my God! Here, this is good. Here, this is the long one. It's too big, so he folds it up, right? And he folds it up, and when he folds up, here's his head. He has 1, 2, 3, 4. Now, when he opens it up, it's this way. When it opens up, so right now he has 1, 2, 3, 4. But if the fold opens up, the 2 is now on his shoulder. Here's the head, and now you have 2 more that don't have. So what do we do in such a case? So he says, Reb Shimon says he's potter. He's part from tzitzis, and the Tanakama says that he's chayiv at tzitzis. Meaning that he has to put now.
He's potter because it's already good enough with it up on the top.
Yeah,
right.
But
he's potter from having to add another 2 strings.
Right, and the Reb Shimon says.
Oh, it's potter from tzitzis because now it's a 6 corner.
Reb Shimon says plate over here is talking about that. Gam es haknaf seila b'knaf chayavs b'tzitzis. Reb Shimon Chadi was saying that the new knaf is ein nechshavs leknafis. It's not considered as corners, even though the other 4 you have 2 on the bottom, 2 here. It opened up the double. He says that you don't have to put tzitzis on that one. And Reb Shimon says it's potter, and the Chacham says it's chayiv. Tfara, what if he took it? This again, we're talking about this one that could open up very long. He sold it, so now he has 4. So that's perfect. So he says if he has 4, so Tfara, he says if he sold it, Pshita, of course it's going to be good. It's not going to open up. Says he wanted like the knock the CK. CK is like pins, diaper pins, like he put in the safety pins. That's the right word. Safety pins to keep it together. Rabbi Rav Huna, here's a story. Rabbi Rav Huna met Rabbi Rav Nachman. He met Rabbi Rav Nachman. He put on this Kol Ha'Ne'arim talis, this big talis, and he put it on, and it was folded over. If Shetei, then it opened up. V'asa Chutma v'kam lahadei reish, and the chutma of the tzitzis came next to right here on his shoulders. Amalei, so Rav Bar Rav Huna said to Rav Nachman, Lav Hainu Kona of the Kosher Achman Baraisa. This is not the corner that the Torah writes that the tzitzis has to be on, because now those other two corners are on your shoulder. It's no good. Asa Shadi Ikasik Limachrite. He came and he threw it away, meaning he put it in a closet and he put on a new garment. Amalei, he says, he said, what are you throwing it in a closet? You got to put on tzitzis. It's not. You think it's the person, only when the person wears it, that's when you're chayiv. No, even if you're not wearing it, if it has four corners, you got to put it on the corners, even if it's in the closet. Chayiv talasu. It's a chayiv. This chefzer gavra. I'll use the lam d'shalashim. This gavra, the chayiv of the person to wear it. So if the person wears it, right, and there's no, when he's wearing, that's when you have to put it on. But if you're not wearing it and there's no four corners, meaning there's six corners, then you're not mechuyev. So that's gavra. But if you say it's the chefza, even when it's in the closet, you're mechuyev. Chavis talasul zil remei Allah. Go and put on the tzitzis on that talis. Says you want to live in Sayilay. Let's bring a raya to Rav Bar Rav Huna that it's on the chetza, even while it's in the closet. The chetza you're mechuyev to put on the tzitzis. It says Chasidim Rishonim Kim She'argu B'Shalosh Metilim B'Tchelas. The Chasidim Rishonim when they would weave, there was a machine that wove the tzitzis, and it started to become a baguette. As soon as they reached 3 handbreadths, that's where you're mechuyev to put it away from the corner. They put in the tzitzis even before it was finished, even before it was done. So you see, it's a, even before the whole. So you see, it's a chiv in the chefza, not in the gavra. So he says, "Shani chesidim, you bring a raya for chesidim. The machmir on Nashayo, they're more stringent on themselves. Upliga the malacha, and there was a malach that was arguing with the shita. The malacha hashkechei Rav Ketina mekasher sedina. There was a malach that found Rav Ketina wearing a linen baguette. Now you're not supposed to put a chelis on a linen baguette because we're afraid on the linen it's called ksus laila. Ksus laila means the garment that you wear at night. At night you're not mechuyev in tzitzis. If you're not mechuyev in tzitzis, you're not allowed to put on shatnez on it, on something that you're not mechuyev. You're not allowed to start wearing shatnez. It's a ksus laila. A laila, you're not chayiv in tzitzis and you're wearing shatnez, so you wouldn't wear tzitzis. Amalei, so he said, the malach said to him, Katina, he called him by his name. Sadina bekaita v'savila b'sisva. He says, you're getting away with murder. You don't want to buy tzitzis. Tchelis is a lot of money. So what do? You wear the linen in the summer. So linen you can't put on tzitzis because it's by night. It's part of tzitzis. And in the winter you wear these big, like a kapot, but it's rounded, warm, like a coat, and it's rounded on one corner, so you're not mechuyev in tzitzis. So he said to him, what are you going to do? You're never going to have the tzitzis of tchelis. You're getting away with the summer garment, you don't put on tzitzis. You're wearing the winter coat, it's rounded, no tzitzis. I say, what are you going to punish me? Is Bezer Shammai going to punish on somebody not fulfilling asay? He doesn't mean stam asay. He means an asay that you're only chayiv if you're wearing 4 corners that you're chayiv. If I don't have that, I'm going to be punished for that. It says when Hashem gets angry, then Hashem will add this to the anger and punish him. It says it's a chayiv on the person. This is what he's getting punished for not having tzitzis in the bag with his 4 corners. That's only if you say it's a chayiv of the person. If you can say it's a chayiv on the talis, there was no chayiv on him. So which one is it? If it's a chayiv on the gavra, then he has a problem. Elamai. So what was the opinion of the malach? Chayiv is gavra, that it's a chayiv on the person. Nehid chayiv zachman be kimikasi talis the bas chiyuv. Taka the Torah would be mechayiv in tzitzis when he puts on a talis that he's mechayiv in tzitzis. Kimikasi talis la bas chiyuv who me mechayiv rachmana. But if he puts on a talis that doesn't have 4 corners, you're going to punish him for that? How could you punish him? What he's asking him out? How can I get punished for that? This is what the Malch was telling Katina, Tats the kila mipsa nafsha mitzitzis. You're looking for tricks, not to be chayv and tzitzis. That's my problem. You got yourself a round coat for the winter. You got yourself a little. Oh, you're playing games. You. Hashem considers it a mitzvah is supposed to connect you with Hashem. By you looking for ways not to doing mitzvahs, you're like distancing yourself from Hashem. That's what Hashem is upset about. Or Hashem is upset. I give you mitzvahs. You're not happy with my mitzvahs. Okay. I'm going to talk about Kisna Shmuel clay begodim that has 4 corners. That's placed in a closet. Chayam betzitzis. It's chay betzitzis.
Without wearing it.
Right. Meila Shmuel bezakim.
What about like a blanket you sleep with? Be the same thing or no?
No, not a suslaila. He says something that you can wear by day, but it's lying in the closet. You're not wearing it. Okay. You still have to chay betzitzis. Meila Shmuel bezman she'asol lechleidei. In the time when they made for the tachrichim sheptur that it's part from tzitzis. My time. What is the reason? Because it says the Torah says something that a live person covers himself. But tachrichim are not made to cover yourself. And he explains by tachrichim here, by he shite at that time, they still put on tzitzis on the tachrichim. Mishum larash, laughing on a poor person. It's like it's a cherpa, and you're showing that. I'm doing mitzvahs and you're not doing mitzvahs. I'm making fun of the mace. So that's why there are others that have a minig that they put tzitzis on and they make a puzzle. That's what the Rashi brings down in Baba Basra. I think our minig is that you put on tzitzis and then you take it off. If a guy was smoking, right, he was a known smoker. So they made a hesped. They said, everybody please don't smoke because he can't smoke. It was a joke. Okay, exactly what.
This week in the cemetery, don't smoke.
Oh, because he usually smoked, and here he doesn't have a chance. Oh my gosh, yeah. A talis. A talis. You see, a talis has to be the tzitz has to be within 3 finger breadths of the corner, but it got torn over here, in the middle of the talis. That's not a problem. He says. All you have to do is sew it back. So he says that talis that got ripped over there, outside the perimeters where the tzitz is supposed to be, just to sew it. But if the tzitz is supposed to be here and it tore next to the corner or after the tzitzis, then you can't sew it together. A talis that was ripped outside the perimeters where the tzitz is supposed to be, further in the baguette, you sew it. But if it's within the 3 finger breadths of the corner, so you have a machlekes. Rabbi says you can't sew it, and the Racham said you could. They both agree. Everybody agrees that even if it's ama, not 3 tvachim, a whole you have a cut piece here. So you take a piece and you iron on and paste it on the baguette, attach it, and you have tzitzis already. Says no, you're not allowed. Everybody agrees you're not allowed to. That you cannot take out, undo the tzitzis from one baguette and put it into another baguette, providing that all the chutim of the tzitzis are complete. So he says you can't undo it from one and put it into another. He says you want to Shabbat minos. We have an eye from him. Atinin mi beged lebeged, that you are allowed to transfer from one beged to another. Yes, you just said they both agree that you cannot transfer, right? But here it says you could. It says you want to Dilma maybe over there. The reason why you could transfer the iblai. The iblai means because the other one is worn out. So just to transfer from one beged to another, it's a zilzul. You say you're taking out tzitzis from one beged and you're putting it into another. That's a little of a zilzul. But if the other beged is worn out, it's all yellow and everything, you took it out and you put it in, maybe that's all right. It's not a zilzul.
Zilzul what?
Zilzul means it's a busha, it's an embarrassment. So because here you have a good beged, and you're taking it out of a good beged and you're putting it into another beged, what is going on? But if the other beged was all ugly and yellow and the face was sweaty, then it's not a problem.
Maybe saving that one for Pesach.
You're right. Tell you, Rabbanim, when Galan, talis shekulat tchelis, a talis that's all tchelis, mikol minei tzayvim, tziv'oinin peitim ba, chutz mitzvah kol eilam. It says a talis b'chal is white,
Right.
and your tzitzis should be made from the same material and color of your beged. But what's if it was tchelis, the talis? So if the talis was tchelis, if the talis was a blue wool, so what do we do now? So he says if it's a blue wool, you can use the blue, and all other colors.
Right.
Doesn't have to be white, but except for indigo. Indigo is very tricky.
color.
It's the exact same color as the chelazin, as the tchelas. So they were afraid that if you're going to use the indigo, so you might have in mind that that's for the tchelas. May say the fact that you might akasha talis saying, let me see if I so the Gemara here. So here we basically effectively Gemara akasha talis aim ba ella mimina. A talis you can only be potted with what type of tzitzis of the same material of the talis. Talis shekulat tchelis. A talis that's all blue, maybe tchelis. He brings from the same of the garment which is blue. The dava acher, and he can also bring from. He has to bring another color. Right. So it has to be. Material has to be blue plus another color. But then he hangs it on. The color ilan lo yavi. But don't bring the indigo that looks mamish like tchelis. But if he did kosher, it's going to be kosher with the oven. So over here, before we just said he not yaitz, and he say yaitz. Rav Nachman Avitz lo kasher. Kam betalis bas aba chutn lovad. Here we're talking about a talis that has only 4 strings. So 4 strings meaning 8 strings. That's it. So then it's going to be puzzle. But Khan, the second rice that said it's kosher with the oven, the talis bas shmeine chutn. Here you see a lot of putting many chutn in one corner. You don't have to have only 8. You can have 16. It's not a problem.
It's only one bunch.
You can have 2, but as long as you don't make 2 braided. 1 braided, but you can have a whole bunch of tzitzis. Because the Torah says,
Like the Hadass from 36.
yeah, but it says gedilim. Only gedilim should be 1. But it doesn't say beneged to tzitzis. By tzitzis, it doesn't say that you have to have separate. That has to be only 4. Even though shegdilim loyna ana tzichem liyes by abba chutim kfulim, that's beneged to gedilim. But beneged to strings, you can have as many as you want. Okay, so Gemara. Shmat minal shmatin mi beged lebeged acher. What do we see from here? So we had a machlekes. Oh, so what was the problem? We said you shouldn't put in 8 tzitzis with indigo. Because we're afraid you're going to use the indigo, right? You're going to take it out because you have enough. You have already 8 strings. But you put in 16 strings. We're afraid you're going to take out 8 of the strings, which is indigo, and use it for another talis and consider it as tcheles. But so you see, normally you would be allowed, but here we have a problem with indigo. It says, you want to dilma the oven here, how do you know you're allowed al-chatchila? Maybe it's talking about, he did it already. So he says that if he did it already and he took it and he put in the indigo, it's going to be kosher with the oven. Itma we learned. You're not allowed to take out tzitzis from one beged and put it into and transfer it into another beged. So before we said from an old one to a new one you're allowed, but in general from a new beged, what?
Today we're allowed.
From a new beged, take out tzitzis from one beged, which is already.
If a beged, you're saying a new one. Okay.
You have 2 tzitzis. And take out. You know what? I'm going to take out the strings from this beged. And I put it in this beged. So he says you're not allowed to do that. Shmuel Shmuel says you're allowed. Because it's a mezoyin, it's a zilzul. You had already kosher. And then he says you're not allowed to light a candle of Hanukkah, one candle of Hanukkah from another light. You have to go to the Shamish because it's a zilzul again. But Shmuel says you're allowed. Rav Amma in Allah Reb Shimon Begreira. Ushmul Amma Allah Reb Shimon Begreira. Reb Shimon Begreira, what does it mean? Reb Shimon says somebody is allowed to schlep a bed on earth. But even though his intention wasn't to make that chitz in the floor because it's like plowing. If he didn't intend to do that,
okay.
then it's okay. But providing that it's not for sure going to make a ditch in the ground, but if it's for sure, that's called psikration. But if it's not for sure going to make a ditch in the ground, he says, hey, it's not going to make a ditch in the ground, and you have the intention not to make a ditch in the ground, then it's good. So Abaye Komili the Mar of Kadav. In all the Yonim, Abaye says, I pass like Kadav, because by Isurim the Allah is like Kadav. Levar Nahani Tlas, except these three, the Avid Kishmol, he did like the one that always argues with Rav. He did like Shmuel, that number one, Matinami Begel Begin, he did allow to transfer tzitzis from one beggar to another. And he did allow to light a Hanukkah candle from another one. And the halach is like Reb Shimon, and if you pull the bed without the intention of making a ditch in the ground, it's mutter on Shabbos. It's called loy niskam. The Tanya that we learned in Abraisa. Reb Shimon Leina, go to Adam Mitra. A person can schlep a bed, kisei, a chair, a safsla, a bench, he's coming last his chalitz, providing that he doesn't have the kavanah to make a ditch in the ground. So like he doesn't have the
kavanah, or he doesn't think it's going to happen.
His kavanah is to it should be for something else.
Right, but you know for sure it's going to make a ditch, though.
If you know for sure it's going to make a ditch, it's no good.
Even if you don't want the ditch.
Even if you don't want it.
Right. Okay. Well, I mean,
Here we're talking about it's not for sure going to make a ditch. Oh, he was doing it light. It was light. He kept on, picking it up, whatever.
Strong guy, baby.
Like Benzi, basically.
That's right. Rav Yehuda Masalei L'Ktzara. Rav Yehuda gave to the cleaners his talis to wash, and he wasn't afraid that the tzitzis will get snapped off.
Because they handle it.
Rav Chanina Avid Lasisa. Rav Chanina would fold over the tzitzis and make like a bow, so they should be careful. Ravina Chaytlu Mechet. He would take the tzitzis here, and he would put it at the end of the baguette and turn the baguette over the tzitzis and sew it. So it wouldn't.
Today they're putting up in that little bag.
The pouch, yeah, they
Plastics and nice.
somebody gave his tzitzis to the cleaners and they charged them $100. They asked, well, why? It says $20 for cleaning the baguette, and the $80 for taking out all the strings and doing it all over again. How many threads does he have to put in the corner? Beishami says he has to put 4. You only have to put 3 strings.
Then 6 of them.
And right, how the loose strings? How after the braided area? How much of the string does have to be loose? What's the share? Beishami says 4 thumb breadths. Shalish, and Basila says 3. It means the thumb breadth. When he said 3, it means the thick finger. The tefach of the haraisa is 4 of these, 4 thumbs. I don't have big ones.
No,
Okay.
I thought they were mine.
Okay.
Depends whose thumb.
Whose thumb it is? If you get Blasovsky's thumb, it's all right. Then you're talking about 2 feet. Okay, she's Miktana, 6. If it's the pinky, it's 6 pinkies to make it a tefa.
6. Right.
Chamesh Besilsa. And 5 the regular fingers, the index finger. He says the chut of the tzitzis have to be 4 doubled up, and then it has to be 4 tefachim away from the corner of the beggar, not within 3, but 4. It has to be 4 tefachim. Amar Papa said hilchsa abba. Halacha is 4 threads doubled up, but shalish. But you only need 3 tefachim from the corner,
Not 4.
Not 4. Mishulashes arba, and the loose strings hanging is only 4 finger breadths. Okay, second about the Islahu shiur. Are you going to then say that there's a shear for tzitzis, and less than that it's not yotze? Rabbi Namanis your kasha. It says tzitzis in the Torah ain't tzitzis ala yotze. Tzitzis is referring to the hanging tzitzis, ain't tzitzis ala mashu, and those fringes is only a drop. Ukvar olu zikne beishami v'zikne beisila aliyas yechnem b'seirim yamin tzitzin lashir. It's a known story with the elders of Beishami and Beis Hillel. They went up to the attic of Yechnim and Pseira, and they said, since it doesn't have a shear, they also said, Lulav doesn't have a shear. My love, ain't a shear klal. Are you going to then say, probably means no share at all. So it's going to loy. Ein lo shir l'mayla, v'yesh lo shir l'mata. It means it's how long it should be. There's no share. It can be as long as it. But how short there's a share? He like if you're not going to say so. Did they said the same thing with the gate to lulav? Lulav ain't lo share. They said lulav doesn't have share. Now they ain't lo share. You're going to say there's no share whatsoever. We know lulav sheish by shleit tvachim teila by kasha. You have to have a lulav that's 4 tvachim, 3 tvachim, in order that it should shake. So you see, the minimum of a lulav has to be a 3 tvachim l'naneya. It's really 4 tvachim when we say. So how could you say there's no share? You just said lulav doesn't have a share. You see, so the share is in the minimum. There's no share. How high? Others say taka. The others are mahada to have these long lulav. It's more noi, but I'm saying the share that he's talking about is the minimum. Chanami. So by the tzitzis, ain't lo share l'mayla. There's no share how long it should be. Yes, lo share l'mata. But there is a share on the minimum. 3 breaths, 4 breaths, 3.
You don't have a share of